Hi everyone, this is HM&S video number 32 and you are most welcome for it. Today we want to see how we can create columns in Microsoft Word. We shall see how we can create 2 columns like this one here. We shall also see how we can create 3 columns like this one here. We shall also see how we can create lines between those columns like the one you are seeing here. And even what's more amazing is that we shall see how we can create different number of columns on the same page. Like for example, if you see this one, this text is sitting on 1 column. Below it, we have this one which is sitting on 2 columns, then this one is having 3 columns. And we shall also see how we can adjust the spacing between those columns. So let's switch on to it and see how we can create columns in Microsoft Word. So right now we are on a Word document. You can see we have some text which I've actually generated using the run function. Now we want to create 2 columns so that this text can fit in 2 columns instead of 1 column like the way you are seeing it here. So to create columns in Microsoft Word, you need to go to the Layout tab, and then from the Page Setup group, we have columns. When you click on the columns, you can see we have options for 1 column, 2 columns, 3 columns, there's left, right. So let's choose 2 columns. So I'm going to click on 2 columns, and you can see we have now our text separated into 2 columns. So this is column 1, and this one is column 2. Now if I'm to scroll down, you can see even on the second page, we have text which is put in column 1. Now, this text, if I'm to add more text below, I'm going to click here, then click enter to create a line. So I'm going to generate some more text using the run functions, and the text which is having 7 paragraphs. So I'm going to put 7, close bracket, and when I hit enter, you can see that when the text on the first column reaches below the document area, it jumps into the next column and it starts from above. So that's how you can create 2 columns in a Word document. So I'm going to click Ctrl N to open a new Word document. So for this one, we're going to first create the columns, then we type on those columns. So I'm going back to the Layout tab, Page Setup group, then click on columns. So this time around, I'm going to create 3 columns. So I'm going to click on 3. When I click on 3, at the moment you cannot actually see that this document is having 3 columns. But the moment you start typing, I'm actually not going to type. I'm going to generate the text using the run function. So equals to run, open bracket. So I'm simply going to say I need 1 paragraph, close bracket. And when I hit enter, you can see it has generated for me a text which is having 1 paragraph. If you want to know more about the run function, last video we talked about how you can generate text in Microsoft Word, and we talked a lot about the run function. So you can go and watch our previous video, HM&S video number 31. To get to know more about the run function. So you can see this text which has been generated is put on column 1. We have 2 more columns here. Now I want to show you how you can actually go to column 2, because right now for my text to go to column 2, it needs to first move up to the end of column 1 down here, then it can now move to column 2. Let me actually show you that. I'm going to do again equals to run. So I'm going to close my parentheses, and when I hit enter, you can see that it moves. When it reaches down, instead of creating a new page, it moves to the next column. So I'm going to click Ctrl Z a number of times until I get back to where I was. So this is where I was. I want to show you how you can jump to the next column even if that column is not yet full. So if you want to do that, for example, you have already typed this one on the first column and you want the next text to appear on the second column, you need to come to the end of your document like this. I'm going to hit enter. So you need to go up to the Layout tab, Page Setup group, then you click on break. So when you click on break, there are actually a number of ways you can break this page, but what we want to break the column. You can see it saying indicate that the text following the column break will begin in the next column. So when you click on column break, my current position is now pushed to the second column. As you can see, this is now my current position. Now I want to turn on the show paragraph mark so that we can see whatever is happening on this document. So I'm going to go to home. From the paragraph group, this is the show paragraph mark. So when I click on it, you can see right here we have a column break. That's because of the breaking of the column that we have just done. So from here you can type, I'm going to do equals to run, 1 paragraph, close parentheses, and when I hit enter, you can see the text is also generated on the second column. If I want again to move to the third column, again I need to break this column. So I'm going to go to the Layout tab, click on break, and then I'm going to click on break column. You can see immediately I have another break column here, and my current position is pushed to column 3. I can again type run. I want one paragraph, comma, having one sentence also, close parentheses, and when I hit enter, you can see. So this is sitting on column 1, this is sitting on column 2, and this is now sitting on column 3. Now if you're already in column 3, like the way we are on column 3 right now, whatever you're going to type will be now on column 3. But what if you want to start again from column 1? What do? Again, you need to come back to break. So when you click on break, this time around you're not going to click on column break, but you're going to click on continuous. It's saying insert a section break and start the new section on the same page. When you click on continuous, that means you're actually inserting a section break. You're creating a section on this Word document. So let's demonstrate that. My current position is here on column 3. So when I come to break, then I come to continuous, when I click, you can already see that there's this section break that is inserted here, if you can see very well. Then my current position is now on column 1. So I can now type on column 1, close parentheses, and when I hit enter, you can see we can now start typing from column 1. So that's how you can navigate between your columns. Now I'm going to hit Control N again on my keyboard to create another document. This time around I'm going to show you how you can actually create different number of columns on the same page. So let's start with one column. So I'm simply going to generate a random text, close parentheses, and when I hit enter, you can see this is just text sitting on one column. I'm going to hit enter to create a space. Now in order for me to insert another number of columns, maybe like 2 columns below this text on the same page, I need to create a section break so that the upper portion will be on its own section, and then the one where we're going to create multiple columns or 2 columns or more than 1 column will also be on its own section. Now to create a section break, you need to come to the Layout tab. From the Page Setup group, I'm going to click on Break. Now when you come down to Continuous, that's where you can create the section break. I'm going to click on Continuous. Now you can even see it's indicated here, Section Break, Continuous. That means anything you're going to type below this section break is going to be on a new section. So that section, you can actually format it or customize it differently from the first section. So for this second section, we are going to create 2 columns. So again, I'm going to go back to the Page Setup group, click on Columns, and then this time around, I'm going to click 2. The first section is having 1 column, the second section is having 2 columns. Again, generating a random text, 1 paragraph. Then when I hit enter, you can see this one is now sitting on column 1. Again, go back to break. I want to break the column so that I can go to column 2. So I'm going to click on column. So equals to run, enter, as you can see. Again, I'm going to go back to the break. Then again, I'm going to create another section break within the same page. So I'm going to click on continuous. Now the third section that we have just created, I want 3 columns. So I'm going back again to columns. Then this time around, I'm going to choose 3 columns. I'm going to do run, enter. So I'm going back to break, column, equals to close parentheses, and when I hit enter, this is now the second column. Again, I'm going to break, again break the column, run, enter. Now you can see on this very page alone, we are having 3 sections, and each section is having different number of columns. 1 column, 2 columns for section 2, and then 3 columns for section 3. Now, assuming you have already created these breaks, there's column break, there's section break, and you want to remove it. How can you actually remove it? When you have your show paragraph marks on, you simply need to click before the break, can be the column break or the section break, and simply hit the delete key on your keyboard. Click before it, delete. Again, there's this column break, I'm going to click, delete. There's this section break, I'm going to click, delete. Now you can see the changes that's taking place. I'm going to click on this one now, delete. Now, each and every time you delete a section, a Word document will remain with the formatting of the downer section. So our downer section was having 3 columns. That's why the entire document is now having 3 columns. I'm going to change the entire document to 1 column. So I'm going to go back to the Layout tab, click on Columns. So I'm going to change it back to 1 column. Now I want to show you the real power of creating columns in Microsoft Word. When you have your cursor somewhere within the document, then you come back to the Layout tab, Page Setup group, you click on Column. You can see we have these 2 options also, the left and the right. Let's just see how they look. When I click on the left, you can see this is how the left look. The left creates two columns when the left hand column is actually smaller than the right hand column. So I'm going back to column. When you click on right, again you can see that it also creates two columns when the left hand side is actually wider than the right hand side, but for this case we cannot see it because our text is all fitting in column 1. But if I'm to come here and add more text, run, enter, you can see that for the right, the left hand column is actually wider than the right hand column. So I'm going back to columns and then click on one column. Now the real power of creating columns in Microsoft Word lies on what I'm going to show you now. So when you come back to columns, you need to come down to more columns. Now when you click on more columns, it opens for you the columns dialog box. You can actually customize it the way you want. First of all, the presets you've already seen, they're already here. You can as well just click on one column, two columns, three columns, left, right. Now here is where you can preview how the document will look when you select any option there. This is where you can specify the number of columns you want. It can even go up to 10 columns or even more than 10 columns. Let me demonstrate that. Watch what the preview will look like. This is how one column will look. When I go to 2 columns, the preview is showing now 2 columns, 3 columns, and you can see the preview is talking of 3 columns. 4 columns. Now for 4 columns, it doesn't have any preset and nothing is actually selected from here. But when you see the preview is now showing us that we have 4 columns. And when you go to 5 columns, just like that, 6, 7, 8, you can see. Now let's go back to 5 columns. And when, for example, this is what you want, and when you click OK, you can see, let me first scroll up. You can see our document is now separated into 5 different columns. But we don't want that. So I'm going back to columns, come to more columns, then I'm going to reduce this one to 3 columns. Now, there's this option for line between. When you select line between, you can even see from the preview, it creates for you a line between these columns. So when you click on OK, you can see that we are having 3 columns and those columns is having this line between them. So I'm going back to columns and coming to more columns. Now another thing is width and spacing. This is where you can see the number of columns. This is the width of each column and this is the spacing of each column. If you want each column to have equal widths, then you need to come down here and check equal column widths. But if you want to customize it differently, each column to have different widths, you can actually come down here, then you unselect equal column widths. Now you can actually change the column widths of any column the way you want. But first of all, let's first check the equal column widths. The first column is now the only column you can change. And whenever you do any change on the first column, the rest of the column will actually automatically adjust. If I increase the width to 2 inch, you can see that the rest of the columns have also been adjusted to 2 inch. Now the spacing has reduced. I'm going to go back to 1.9 inch. Now if you want to reduce the spacing between the columns, you need to come here. When you down arrow, it reduces to 0.3 inch. Now the extra space will be added onto the column width. But I'm going to go back to 0.4 inch. If you have selected your options here, and now you want to apply it to the entire document, you can have all documents selected. But when you click on this drop down arrow, we have this all document, then this point forward. Now for example, let me first close this columns dialog box. Now let me click just right here. So I'm going back to columns, click on more columns. I'm going to select line between. Now this line between, I want it just to be from this point forward. So I'm going to click on the drop down arrow for the apply to, then choose this point forward. So when I click on this point forward, you can even see from the preview, from where I've put my cursor, we have the line between the columns. But what is above is not having the line. So when I click OK, you can actually see that the upper part is not having the line between, but the downer part is having the line between. That's actually the benefit of having that option, this point forward. So I'm going to go back to columns, more columns, and then come to apply to. Now, when you choose this point forward, it actually automatically creates for you a section break. That's why when you come back to apply to, you have again another option called this section. That's why even from here you can see section break. This is where I created the section break. So I'm going to go back to columns, click on more columns. Then I'm going to change this one back to one column. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to come back to the section break that was automatically created. Click, then delete. Now you can see the formatting that was on the downer section is what is carried forward. Yeah, that is how you can create multiple columns in Microsoft Word document. You can play around with it to master it. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. And if you found this video interesting, give it a like, then you share it with your friends. This is a video where we talked about different techniques how you can type in Microsoft Word. You can click on it, then you go and watch it. Until next video, HM&S video number 33, and we meet again. Thank you.